Police respond to a string of robberies early this morning, including one where a man was shot. We're tracking the investigation into whether the crimes are connected.
Beloved women's college basketball coach, the legend Pat Summitt, dying this morning. We'll show you how she's being remembered by some of UK staff.
Following devastating flash flooding in West Virginia, members of the Red Cross from all over the state of Kentucky are in the Mountain State helping people clean up.
WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
A terrorist attack rocking another busy European airport.
This time in Istanbul, Turkey, where the death toll is at least 10 people. WKYT's Jennifer Palumbo is following this story for us, and she's at the live desk. Jennifer?
Amber, we've been monitoring this story here at the live desk. Just minutes ago, reports include 60 injuries in addition to those at least 10 deaths. The country of Turkey and city of Istanbul straddle Europe and Asia. Its main airport is on the European side and is the 5th busiest in Europe. Here are some of the latest images from the scene. A Turkish official says 2 attackers blew themselves up after police fired at them. The official said the attackers detonated the explosives at the entrance of the international terminal before entering the X-ray security check. Passengers go through security checkpoints just to enter the terminal before they can even check in for a flight. They then go through security checks a second time. Turkey has suffered several bombings in recent months linked to Kurdish or Islamic State group militants. European Union leaders who are holding a summit about Britain's departure from the bloc are condemning the deadly attack on Istanbul's airport. A terrorist attack at Belgium's airport killed 32 people, including a Kentucky native and her husband. At the live desk, Jennifer Palumbo, WKYT.
Jennifer, thank you. A crime spree across Lexington kept police busy early this morning. Robbers targeted a string of businesses across the city.
And as police investigated those robberies, a man was shot during another robbery. And now police want to know if all of them are connected. WKYT's Hillary Thornton is tracking the investigation in our top story at 5.
Police believe the crime spree started early this morning with the suspect stealing a van. Investigators say the first business to then fall victim, the Speedway here on Euclid Avenue.
The robbers targeting that Speedway along with the Speedway at Winchester Road and 7th Street. Police say the masked men were aggressive, shoving a gun into the back of a clerk. Then the third stop on their spree, holding up the Waffle House on 8th and Boonesboro Road. Officers finding cash and a cell phone on a street next to one of the gas stations, something customers hope helps catch the robbers.
I hope to get caught and put them away for quite a while. You know, it's getting really ridiculous. You know, just like I said, it's, you know, you just can't hardly walk the street anymore like you used to when I was coming up.
Those armed robberies keeping police busy this morning, however, all within the same hour. Officers also responding to a man who was shot in the leg after 3 men stole his electronics as he was walking along Malibu Drive near his apartment.
It's scary because you don't see it on Malibu. It's a very safe neighborhood.
That man taken to the hospital, police saying he is expected to be okay. Investigators are looking into a possible connection between the shooting and the business robberies, saying there are similarities in suspect descriptions.
Investigators are taking a look at surveillance video from the businesses, as well as looking for anyone who might have witnessed that robbery and shooting over on Malibu, as they are looking into the possibility that the same people are involved in all of these. In Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Police also say there are some similarities on the surface between this morning's shooting and the robbery in which a man was shot early Sunday morning near North Limestone and 7th Street.
The world of college basketball lost a legend today. Longtime University of Tennessee women's coach Pat Summitt died this morning following a battle with early onset dementia. WKYT's Rob Bromley's here now with more on how Summitt is being remembered. Rob?
Pat Summitt was a pioneer whose influence went well beyond her sport of women's basketball. At the age of 64, she died this morning after battling Alzheimer's for 5 years. She was only 22 in 1974 when she started coaching Tennessee. She would go on to win almost 1,100 games and 8 national titles. UK assistant Nia Butts played for her and was a part of 2 national championships.
Sports in general teach you so much about who you are, who you want to be, where you want to be, and we learned that through her. You know, one of the greatest lessons I learned, you know, it's hard to express all the things that you learn from it, because there's so many, but was to discipline yourself so no one else has to. And if you can do that in life, whether it's in sports, the work world, academically in the classroom, you can be special.
Nia Butts was on Pat Summitt's national championship teams in 1997 and 98. So was Kyra Elzy, who is also now on the staff of Matthew Mitchell. Sam, Amber.
Rob, thank you. Every player who completed 4 years under Pat Summitt graduated from Tennessee.
Our neighbors in West Virginia finally have a break from all that rain. Last week's high waters destroyed thousands of homes. Those flooding victims now need help to clean up and put their lives back together. And some of that help will come from right here in Kentucky. Our Mike Linden shows us how the Bluegrass chapter of the American Red Cross is coming to their aid.
Following devastating flash flooding in West Virginia, members of the Red Cross from all over the state of Kentucky are in the Mountain State helping people clean up. To help victims of the flooding in the Mountain State, 12 Red Cross staff members arrived on Sunday. Staffers have set up emergency shelters across the state and have provided cleaning supplies and counseling to those who need it. More than 1,200 people are in emergency shelters as the cleanup continues.
We've been through lots of floods and hurricanes and tornadoes, so I think we know what the needs are, and we just need to go through and provide services to those who are in need.
Burkhart says the Red Cross is looking for donations at this time to help the cleanup efforts. You can donate by going to their website, www.redcross.org, or you can drop off a donation at any of the Red Cross chapters across Kentucky. In Lexington, Mike Linden, WKYT.
And at least 25 people have died in the flooding. House Republicans releasing their report on the U.S. consulate attack in Benghazi, Libya, nearly 4 years ago.
The attack happened as current presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton led the State Department. As Mark Albert shows us, many Democrats say the report's sole purpose is to derail her campaign.
Republicans unveiled their latest and most comprehensive Benghazi report that took 2 years and cost $7 million.
There is new information on what happened in Benghazi, and that information should fundamentally change the way you view what happened in Benghazi.
The 800-page report alleges no military operation was underway to rescue the people in Benghazi, despite orders to do so. The administration was politically motivated to cite an internet video as a cause for the attacks. The State Department failed to provide better security for the Benghazi consulate, leaving it vulnerable. And members of the Obama administration stonewalled the congressional investigation.
I believe that the government failed its people and lied to the public in the aftermath.
But the White House says the conclusions from this report are no different than any of the other congressional investigations.
I thought it was over after the first 5 investigations. This is the 8th.
Democrats on the Benghazi committee and Hillary Clinton, who led the State Department at the time, brushed aside the criticism.
It's time to move on.
At an event in Denver, Clinton said no one has lost more sleep over the 4 lives lost than she has, and that American diplomacy cannot withdraw from dangerous places.
We owe it to those brave Americans to make sure that we learn the right lessons from this tragedy.
The State Department says it is working to prevent future incidents. Mark Albert for CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Benghazi report also lists 25 recommendations aimed at strengthening security for American personnel serving overseas. Public forums on Governor Bevin's proposed changes to Medicaid started today. The governor announced his overhaul plans last week. The federal government must approve the changes. If they don't, Governor Bevin says he'll end the state's expanded Medicaid program, leaving 400,000 people without coverage. Today's forum was held in Bowling Green. The second one will be from 1 to 2 tomorrow afternoon at the Capitol Annex in Frankfort, and a third will be held in Hazard on June 6th.
Senate Democrats have blocked a bill to provide $1 billion to fight the Zika virus. The Democrats opposed the GOP measures, saying it was full of so-called poison pill riders. Some of those include reducing funding to Planned Parenthood and weakening EPA restrictions on clean water. Lawmakers have just 2 weeks to reach a deal before a 7-week recess. A judge overseeing Prince's estate has set a deadline for lawyers to weigh in on genetic testing protocols. Attorneys have until July 8th to submit written positions on the subject. Prince died of a drug overdose in April but had no will. A sister and 5 half-siblings are in line to inherit his estate. Some other people have come forward claiming ties as well. Well, the start of the 2016 Rio Olympics is just 38 days away, and this week students from the UK swimming and diving teams are trying to make their dreams come true in Omaha, taking part in the Olympic trials.
And before they headed out, I caught up with the team and one member who has already made history at the university and now has her sights set on Rio. That story is new at 5.
To be the best in your sport, you have to put in the time. In swimming, lap after lap can pay off.
Gollier, it's Bartholomew. Will Gollier deny her? She will.
This past season, all that pool time paid off big for a University of Kentucky swimmer.
Picking up the first title in Kentucky Wildcat history, Danielle Gollier.
To say that 20-year-old Danielle Gollier had a great junior year in the water would be a huge understatement. It was that one 200 backstroke race that propelled her into UK history.
It was cool. My family was in the stands, and we had quite a few girls, and our coaches were there, and it was just fun to share the moment with my teammates and my friends that helped me get that far.
Gollier, who is humble about her win, has certainly helped elevate UK swimming status in the NCAA.
We want to be a consistent national power in swimming here for UK, and Danielle's kind of opened up the door for us in terms of recruiting and in terms of bringing higher caliber athletes here.
Swimming since she was 5, she once tried giving it up.
And then I got into year-round and I was like 7, and I actually hated it, and then so I quit after my mom made me finish out the year.
She toughed it out and has been winning ever since. A 4th place NCAA finish her sophomore year set her up for the title win.
I swam prelims and finals next to Missy Franklin, who is the reigning Olympic champion in the event. And so that was pretty big for my confidence, just to kind of help me believe that I belonged there.
Gollier now has her sights set on the 2016 Rio Olympics. When we caught up with her last week, she and nearly 30 teammates were preparing for the Olympic trials in Omaha.
She, I think, has an excellent chance to be competitive in Omaha.
Gollier admits she never really thought about the Olympics or too far in the future at all. She says she is sticking to what she knows and only looking down the swim lane in front of her.
I'm going to focus on my race and be confident in my practices and just swim the way that I want to swim, and if that ends up going to Rio, then great, and if not, I know that I did the best I could.
And that is the attitude to have. A lot of folks are cheering for her. Gollier competed Monday. She swam a personal best in the 100 back, making it to the semis, but not the finals. She will compete Friday in that 200 backstroke.
In just a few hours, someone could become a mega millionaire. Tonight's Mega Millions jackpot is up to $390 million. If you win, you can take the cash option and get $265 million. Tickets cost $1 each. The drawing takes place at 10:58 tonight.
It is time now for better living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. If you need to make a trip to the hospital, it's going to cost you more. The average patient with private insurance paid more than $1,000 in out-of-pocket hospital costs in 2013. The study from the University of Michigan found that's a 37% increase in 4 years. The main factor, many of today's plans have higher deductibles than in the past. Medical schools have jumped into the fight against a growing epidemic. Krista Fourier shows us how they're training up-and-coming doctors to help curb America's addiction to opioid painkillers.
With opioid addiction tearing apart families and communities, a new front to battle the growing epidemic,
the patients themselves are
medical schools, training the next generation of doctors.
I think that it's just really important to equip our new doctors with this ability to be able to talk to patients, to be able to know what's the appropriate dose of opioid to prescribe a patient and what's inappropriate.
Schools are taking action after critics said they were failing to teach students about opioids, a class of drugs that includes powerful painkillers including morphine and illegal drugs like heroin. Recent studies have found many physicians prescribe opioid painkillers too often.
I've tried Advil and Tylenol, it's not really helping.
Using actors, the University of Massachusetts is teaching students how to identify if patients are suffering from addiction and when it's appropriate to prescribe opioid medication.
I had the oxy that you prescribed me from the surgery, and that seems to really help.
Other schools are increasingly using similar simulations.
There are these 3 other prescriptions. Who's Dr. Miller?
Yeah, I must have been the doctor I saw at the ER.
Opioid painkillers were blamed for almost 19,000 overdose deaths in 2014 in the U.S., a 400% increase from the year 2000. Hoping to set a precedent, medical schools in Massachusetts are rolling out a statewide curriculum on opioids, rethinking pain management.
It was a situational issue in which we were told we had to treat pain. We followed instructions and we eliminated pain, and then we created another problem.
Dozens of schools across the country have received federal grants aimed to better equip students to screen patients for drug abuse.
The thing that scares me the most is not being able to detect it.
But with the rising number of opioid deaths, these future doctors are learning to confront it head on. Krista Fourier, Associated Press.
If you are a woman over 50 and you want to decrease your risk of death from cardiovascular disease, you might want to get a pet. Researchers found female pet owners were 40% less likely to die of a stroke. The results were especially true if the pet is a cat. Study authors say cat owners may have a personality that protects their hearts.